What if the biggest retirement mistake isn't how much you save, but what you expect Social Security to do for you? Most people assume Social Security was designed to support decades of retirement, but that belief is not only wrong, it can quietly destroy your long-term financial plan, especially if you're thinking about retiring early. Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment below where you plan to retire. These small actions help more people understand how retirement really works, not how it's marketed. Now let's start with something few people ever explain. Social Security was created in a completely different economic reality. When the program began, life expectancy was far lower, and retirement itself looked very different. Most workers didn't stop working at 60 or 62 and live another 25 or 30 years. The system was designed to provide basic support for a short period of old age, not to fund a long, multi-decade retirement. This distinction matters more today than ever. Social Security was never meant to be your primary retirement income. It was designed as a safety net, not a wealth-building tool, and not a replacement for personal savings or investments. The problem is that many people, especially early retirees, build their financial plans as if Social Security will fill the gap. Financially, that assumption is dangerous. When you retire early, you extend the number of years your money must last. At the same time, you reduce the years you contribute to the system and lock in lower benefits if you claim early. This creates a structural imbalance. Longer retirement, smaller guaranteed income, higher personal risk. What most people don't realize is that Social Security was built around averages, average lifespans, average work histories, average retirement ages. Early retirement is not average, and the system was never optimized for it. Relying on Social Security too early shifts pressure onto your personal investments. Your portfolio must now work harder, last longer, and absorb more shocks. Market downturns, inflation spikes, healthcare costs, with less margin for error. That's not a flaw in the system. That's a misunderstanding of its role. Social Security works best when it's treated as a secondary income layer, added later in retirement, after investments have had time to grow and compound. Using it as a foundation, especially early, weakens the entire structure of your retirement plan. If this perspective is new to you, hit like so others see this video too. And comment below if you were surprised to learn what Social Security was actually designed to do. Understanding this one concept can completely change how you plan your retirement and prevent costly decisions that are almost impossible to reverse later. Claiming Social Security early often feels like a smart move. After all, receiving income sooner appears to reduce uncertainty and bring immediate relief. But beneath that sense of comfort lies a permanent financial trade-off that many retirees underestimate. Social Security is structured around age-based formulas. When benefits are claimed at age 62, monthly payments are reduced by approximately 20 to 30% compared to waiting until full retirement age. This reduction is not a short-term adjustment. It becomes a lifelong constraint on income. The impact of this decision grows over time. A smaller monthly benefit limits purchasing power especially as inflation compounds and essential expenses rise. While annual cost of living adjustments exist, they are applied to a lower base amount, which means the gap never closes. Over a long retirement, this difference can translate into hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost income. Early claiming also shifts financial pressure onto personal savings and investments. With less guaranteed income coming from Social Security, retirees must rely more heavily on their portfolios to cover daily living costs. This increases withdrawal rates during the early years of retirement, a period when market volatility can be especially damaging. This timing risk is often overlooked. Drawing more from investments early reduces the ability of those assets to recover from downturns. Losses sustained in the first decade of retirement can have a lasting effect, making it difficult for a portfolio to sustain withdrawals over 25 or 30 years. Another issue is longevity risk. Many people underestimate how long retirement may last. Claiming early assumes either a shorter lifespan or a willingness to accept reduced income in later years. As life expectancy increases, the financial strain of a reduced benefit becomes more pronounced, particularly in advanced age, when flexibility is limited. From a planning perspective, early claiming often solves a short-term concern while creating a long-term vulnerability. The decision trades immediate certainty for reduced stability in the later stages of retirement, when income reliability matters most. Understanding this hidden cost reframes the question. The choice is not simply about when to start receiving payments. It is about how long income must last, how much flexibility is needed in later years, and how much pressure can realistically be placed on investments over time. One of the most common assumptions about Social Security is that annual adjustments protect retirees from rising costs. While the program does include cost of living adjustments, these increases often fail to reflect the real expenses retirees face over time. The adjustments are based on broad inflation metrics that measure general consumer spending. Retirees, however, experience a very different inflation profile. Healthcare, insurance premiums, prescription drugs, housing, and long-term care tend to rise faster than overall inflation. These categories represent a much larger share of retirement budgets, especially in later years. This mismatch creates a gradual erosion of purchasing power. Even small gaps between actual expenses and benefit increases compound over time. For retirees who begin claiming early, this erosion lasts longer, amplifying the financial impact across decades. Healthcare is one of the most significant factors. As people age, medical needs increase, but Social Security adjustments do not track healthcare inflation directly. Out-of-pocket costs, supplemental insurance, and long-term care expenses grow independently of benefit increases, forcing retirees to rely more heavily on personal savings. Housing is another overlooked area. Property taxes, maintenance, insurance, and rent often rise faster than general inflation. Even retirees who own their homes outright are not insulated from these costs. Social Security provides no mechanism to adjust benefits based on regional cost differences or housing market pressures. Taxes further complicate the picture. Depending on total income, a portion of Social Security benefits may be subject to taxation. As investment withdrawals increase to cover rising costs, tax exposure can rise as well, reducing net income and increasing strain on portfolios. The combined effect is subtle but powerful. Each year, retirees must bridge a small gap between benefits and expenses. Over time, that gap widens and the burden shifts increasingly toward personal investments. For early retirees, this problem is magnified. A longer retirement means more years of cost pressure and more opportunities for expenses to outpace guaranteed income. What begins as a manageable difference can evolve into a structural weakness in the overall retirement plan. Social Security was designed to provide baseline support, not to dynamically adjust to the complex and evolving costs of modern retirement. Understanding this limitation is critical when determining how much income must be generated from investments and how long those assets must last. Many retirees focus on Social Security as an isolated decision, but its timing directly affects how investments are used throughout retirement. When these two elements are misaligned, the financial consequences can be significant. One of the most common mistakes occurs when retirees claim Social Security early while simultaneously drawing heavily from their investment portfolios. This combination creates a double strain: reduced guaranteed income and increased dependence on market-based assets at the same time. Early in retirement, portfolios are especially vulnerable. Market downturns during this period can permanently damage long-term outcomes, a risk known as sequence of returns risk. When withdrawals are high during market declines, fewer assets remain to recover when markets rebound. Claiming Social Security early often increases these withdrawals, magnifying this risk. Another issue is lost compounding. Investments perform best when they are allowed time to grow without interruption. Early withdrawals reduce the capital base, limiting future growth and making it harder for portfolios to sustain income over long periods. This effect is particularly harmful for retirees who may live 25 or 30 years beyond their retirement date. Social Security can act as a stabilizing force when used strategically. Delaying benefits increases monthly income and provides a larger, inflation-adjusted cash flow later in life. This allows retirees to rely less on investments during periods of market stress, preserving portfolio longevity. When benefits are claimed too early, this stabilizing function is weakened. The retirement plan becomes more exposed to market volatility, forcing investments to shoulder risks they were not designed to absorb alone. Tax efficiency also plays a role. Coordinating investment withdrawals with Social Security timing can reduce lifetime tax exposure. Poor coordination may push retirees into higher tax brackets earlier than expected, reducing net income and accelerating asset depletion. The interaction between Social Security and investments is not about maximizing one component in isolation. It is about balancing guaranteed income with market-based growth to create resilience across economic cycles. Without this balance, even well-funded retirement plans can become fragile. A strategy that looks sufficient on paper may struggle under real-world conditions, such as inflation spikes, market volatility, or unexpected expenses. Understanding how Social Security interacts with investment strategy is essential for anyone considering early retirement. The decision affects not only monthly income, but the entire structure of long-term financial security. After understanding how Social Security was designed, the cost of claiming early, the erosion of purchasing power, and its interaction with investments, one conclusion becomes clear. Social Security was never meant to be the foundation of early retirement. Its real role is far more specific. Social Security works best as a stability layer, not a primary income source. It provides predictable, inflation-adjusted cash flow that becomes more valuable later in life, when flexibility is lower and financial risks are higher. Used correctly, it reduces pressure on investments and improves long-term resilience. For those considering early retirement, this distinction is critical. Retiring early extends the time your assets must last while increasing exposure to inflation, market volatility, and healthcare costs. If Social Security is claimed too soon, it loses much of its strategic value and forces investments to carry an unrealistic burden. A well-structured retirement plan typically relies on three pillars: personal savings, investment growth, and guaranteed income. Social Security belongs in the third category. It is most effective when layered on top of a portfolio that has already had time to compound and stabilize. This is why many financially secure retirees delay Social Security even if they stop working earlier. They allow their investments to bridge the early years, preserving flexibility and letting guaranteed income increase for later stages of life. This approach strengthens the overall plan rather than weakening it. Social Security was designed to support retirement, not to enable financial independence on its own. When expectations exceed its design, the gap must be filled by personal assets. Without proper planning, that gap can widen over time and become difficult to manage. The most successful retirement strategies are not built on speed. They are built on sequencing, balance, and risk management. Knowing when to use each income source matters just as much as how much you have saved. If this video helped you rethink how Social Security fits into retirement planning, subscribe to the channel for more clear, practical insights on retirement finance. Like this video so it reaches others who are planning their future, and comment below. Do you believe Social Security should be claimed early or used strategically later in retirement? Understanding these decisions before retirement begins can mean the difference between financial stress and long-term stability. One of the least discussed risks in early retirement planning is longevity risk, the possibility of living much longer than expected and outlasting available financial resources. This risk becomes significantly higher when retirement begins early and relies heavily on fixed or limited income sources. Many retirement plans are built around optimistic assumptions. People often estimate how long they think. They will live and plan accordingly. However, improvements in healthcare, lifestyle changes, and medical technology continue to extend life expectancy. Retiring early increases the number of years income must be generated, often by decades. Social Security was not structured to fully absorb this risk, especially when claimed early. Reduced monthly benefits combined with longer payout periods increase exposure to shortfalls later in life. As retirees reach their late 70s or 80s, flexibility declines while expenses, particularly healthcare and long-term care, tend to rise. At the same time, investment portfolios face cumulative pressure. A longer withdrawal period increases the probability of encountering multiple market downturns. Even moderate volatility, when combined with ongoing withdrawals, can erode portfolio value faster than expected. Longevity risk also interacts with inflation risk. Over long time horizons, even modest inflation can significantly reduce purchasing power. Fixed or slowly adjusted income sources struggle to keep pace, forcing retirees to compensate with higher withdrawals from investments. Another overlooked factor is decision fatigue. Managing investments, taxes, healthcare choices, and spending becomes more complex with age. A retirement plan that depends on constant optimization becomes harder to maintain over time, increasing the value of stable, predictable income later in life. Early retirement amplifies all these challenges simultaneously. Longer timelines reduce margin for error. Small miscalculations in spending, returns, or inflation assumptions compound over decades, turning manageable gaps into structural problems. This is why longevity risk is not simply about living longer. It is about maintaining income quality, flexibility, and resilience across an extended retirement period. Plans that underestimate this risk often appear sound in the early years, but weaken significantly over time. Recognizing longevity risk shifts the focus of retirement planning. The goal is no longer just to stop working earlier, but to design income strategies that remain sustainable regardless of how long retirement lasts. Planning retirement is not about guessing the future. It is about understanding how systems were designed, recognizing their limits, and building strategies that work across decades, not just the early years. If you found this breakdown helpful and want more clear, practical content about retirement planning, long-term investing, and financial decisions Americans face after 50, subscribe to the channel. Like this video if you believe retirement should be planned with math, not assumptions, and leave a comment below sharing what concerns you most about retirement: income, healthcare, inflation, or longevity. Your engagement helps this channel continue delivering honest, educational content that cuts through confusion and helps people make better financial decisions.